Hello and welcome to the Gothic Unicorn. Today I'm looking ahead to the Christmas season. I'm actually thinking at the moment about Creepmas because, well, in my doll's house it's always spooky. But I know that isn't how everybody wants to do things. So today I'm going to be talking about and showing you a few things that can be used for decorating your doll's house for Christmas, but that don't have to be particularly spooky. Now, the first thing I want to talk about are lights. What is Christmas without lights? Now, obviously, a lot depends on what you're trying to do. If you're trying to decorate inside your doll's house, you might want to use something that attaches to your main lighting source if you've got it wired and if you've got a transformer that's big enough to take it. Now, with my Christmas videos from last year, you may or may not have seen them, and you may or may not have seen my actual Christmas lights. I had a set of doll's house Christmas lights. I had Santa on his sleigh and 2 reindeers. Now these were actual doll's house lights. They were bought as that, as individual pieces, and the 3 pieces together took a transformer of their own to power. We've actually altered them. This was my husband's idea, and by using some little battery powered LED wire lights, we've actually managed to put it so that they are powered by a battery pack now. I'm not getting them out because, sad to say, they are rather tangled up and I'm just not going there at the moment. But battery lights are great, especially for the outside of your doll's house, if you've got somewhere to tuck a battery pack out of the way. And these wires are really great because you can actually bend them into all kinds of shape. Now, I've got multicoloured ones here, and then this set are just bright white. You also get warm white, and you get them with different coloured wires. These are cheap lights. I know that you can pick them up from bargain shops, be that pound shops, dollar stores, Amazon, other online retailers. You can pick them up for not very much money, and they can be used in so many different ways. You can even use them for actually wiring your doll's house if your doll's house isn't too big, but they're a great way of adding lights. Now these are something slightly more complicated. These are a set of little street lights that are designed to be used with one of those miniature Christmas villages. Now, if you can pick up the stuff at a reasonable price, because some of it is incredibly expensive, some of it can be used in your doll's house. Now, I've got another set somewhere which I will show you in a minute, but these, which have also been battery powered, and I'm not sure if this was original or if this is another one of my husband's little modifications. I've got 4 little street lights. Now these are obviously too small for 1/12 scale, but what I like to do is, because of how the front of my doll's house is, I like to put these at either side of the front, sort of stick wire so that things are covering it up, that kind of thing. They're white, which means it's great for covering up with fake snow, but this can just add an extra dimension to your doll's house. And I don't know what it's like where you are, but you do find things for Christmas decorations that aren't in what I'd call real scale. So you'll get miniature street lights, street lamps that are sort of a few feet tall rather than being 6 feet tall or more. So I think you can get away with it if that's the kind of thing that you want. Now this here is the other set of street lamps that I bought. Now these were cheaper The set of 4 actually come from a branded. I don't know if they're actually Limax, I don't know how you pronounce it, who we actually have stores locally that sell their Christmas things, but they were from them. They were a reasonable price. They were not bad at all. These were cheaper, and these were only a few pounds, and they are clunkier. They're bigger, but the detail isn't quite as good as on the other ones, and yeah, I don't quite like them as much, but I still got them, so they may get used on something somewhere along the line, or they are the kind of thing that disappears off into the child's room. Right, so lights aside, and I will put those out of the way. The next thing I want to talk about are Christmas trees. Now, Christmas trees are, well, they're central, aren't they? And just like in real life, you can have almost any kind of Christmas tree. Now, this is a very simple Christmas tree that I bought. I bought this from a miniature show. It is a little, what they call a bottle bush tree on a wooden base with a bit of miniature garland, a bit of tinsel, and a little piece of confetti on the top. Now that is just quite a nice little tree, and yeah, it has its place. You can fit that into a scene, put it into, say, a nursery scene or something like that, and it wouldn't look out of place. Or you can try and make your own, which is what I did last year. And you may remember this. I made a little tinsel tree, which I'm still quite fond of. It does remind me of the trees of my childhood, which were generally very sparse and very artificial. And I also made what I call my modern tree, which needs some repair work because it appears to have altered itself in the storage, but I'm not going to mess with that now because I don't want it to fall off. And this was a very modernistic design that I went with. But as I say, it depends what you want. Now, this tree, which has got lights, they do work, they've just got a dodgy switch on the battery pack, is another one that I bought that is made out of the same sort of things, the same sort of stuff that an artificial tree is made of. I think I'm going to have a look at these lights if I'm going to use this one. Now this again is on a wooden block. Now I haven't decorated the inside of my doll's house for several years, but I have had lit trees inside. So this has been inside, stuck onto its battery box. So the battery box has been disguised, and then it's been in a window so that all that you get, oh, and the lights have just died. It happens. So that you got the light through the windows. I'm now going to be unpicking these lights off this and finding some replacements, but these lights are some very old LED lights. And when I say very old, I mean these are some of the earlier LED lights. So we'll put that one out of the way. As you can see, I'm not going to cut that out. I am going to just accept that it died. Now this tree, which is another one that was put in a window, was purely done to light up. There was a good side once upon a time, but it's been stored for a number of years. And this is actually made from a piece off of a cheap Christmas tree. I think this Christmas tree probably cost £1. And all that I've done is I have fastened what was the original base to a battery box, and then I've used the top of the tree, cut it off and stuck it into the base with some hot glue, and it's falling apart. But when this was actually looking something like, again, this was a let's look through the window job, it looked okay. Now, you do see some wonderful miniature Christmas trees, and the work that goes into them is absolutely phenomenal. They're better dressed than my real tree. Sorry, it's the truth. People put hours and hours and hours of work into these pieces, and they really are works of art. And if that's what you want, well, fair enough. But if you want a tree that looks like your doll's house children could have decorated it, don't worry about it. You can use all sorts of things to decorate them. And as I say, you can even use bits of old trees to make a passable effort if you stick it in a back corner. But what do you decorate a Christmas tree with? Now, I've taken the lights off of this tree because it's the sort of nicest shape, best to decorate tree I've got. I may do a video on how to make your own using a cheap Christmas tree. I have sourced the kind of tree that I'd need. I am able to get one this year, but I don't know if there'd be much interest in that. It is something that I could do, but it doesn't really go with the kind of necessarily with the sort of aesthetic that I'm going for Christmas because, you know, spooky. Anyway, what are you going to decorate your tree with? Well, you can get specific garlands for your doll's house tree. Now, this is what we call tinsel. I don't know what it's called anywhere else in the world, but if you notice something else, well, you'll know it. It's that lovely sparkly stuff that gets everywhere. But this is some that's specifically for the doll's house that I bought from a miniature show. But it's a nice thick piece. You can also get thin stuff. Now, you can get some thin stuff which is actually more like it's wired. You buy it, well, in the UK I've bought it from the ordinary Christmas decoration aisle, and you can use it for wrapping around things. It's great for doing quite thin wreaths where you don't want a thick base to it, that sort of stuff, because it's got a certain amount of substance to it. The other thing that's really good on a miniature tree is a bead garland. Now, these go in and out of fashion for real trees, but they work great on the doll's house tree if you can get some that's a nice size. It looks like the really chunky stuff that you might get for a real life tree, and you can just sort of drape it round. Now, if my tree looks like somebody's just sort of thrown the decorations at it, well, as you've seen, I have just sort of thrown the decorations at it. There is no real thought gone into it. It's just what I got in my box. Now, these, which are a red bead with a little anchor, are some bits that I either bought them to go on a Christmas tree, or they came on a Christmas tree that I possibly no longer own. And they do make very nice baubles. You know, the basics of your Christmas tree decoration, but you can make these yourself. And I've actually got some here that are made from red beads and some clear glass beads. Clear glass beads being the kind of beads that I've used in the past for making lights for my witch's cottage. And I've used a piece of an actual ornament hanger that I cut down so that I can actually hang them on my Christmas tree. Now, obviously, if I'd still got lights on here, you'd be putting this stuff over the top of the lights, but using the little wire pieces does make it really, really easy to put the bits on and then squeeze them into place so they actually stay where you want them to be. And if I just put this one on, and there we have a very simple sort of Christmas tree decoration. You can make Christmas tree decorations out of paper, the same as you could do real size. You just have to be kind of careful when you're cutting things out. You can print things out and cut them out, you know, to make decorations that have got pictures on, whatever you want. But you can quite easily decorate a Christmas tree for your doll's house. Now obviously the easiest way of putting presents around the tree is to make little boxes and cover them with small scale wrapping paper. Small scale wrapping paper, you can just print, you can get free printables of this, or you can make your own if you've got some basic knowledge of Photoshop. You don't even need Photoshop actually. If you can come up with a basic image, you can do it in Word or something like that, but you know, it's possible. But you can also make little gift bags. Now these that I've got here are some that I've bought. This one's been made with photo paper, so it's nice and glossy. And there's a little bottle bag, and it's got lovely ribbon handles, and it's still looking good after probably more years than enough. Some of the others aren't. This one's looking a bit the worse for wear, but I figure that one looks like some of the gift bags that have been doing the rounds in my family for a good many years. I'm sure we're not the only ones that reuse them. And I've got another one there, so you can quite easily make a little display around the base of your Christmas tree. Now obviously my Christmas tree is at a strange angle because I want you to see it. But these, again, there's free printables for them on various sites on the internet, and there's some really lovely people who put out printables for this sort of thing. So it's quite easy to do your Christmas tree scene, and I hope, you know, I've given you a few ideas. Now I'm going to move on to other ideas for Christmas decorations, but I'm going to mention this one. This is one of my simple signs from last year. Now if you've been around, you'll know that my Christmas stuff was mostly spooky, but I did sort of say that the ideas could be translated into something more mainstream. This one didn't go down very well. Now I know for a lot of people they might, oh, this is awful. Well, yeah, but you're not married to a dyslexic, surrounded by a family of dyslexics, and this sort of thing is run of the mill. Now the latest one, well, I'm not going to go into details of it, but I'm never going to look at a chocolate peanut in the same way ever again. I'm just going to say that. This, you know, fit with my doll's house aesthetic, it fit with my dark sense of humour, and it fit with something that was actually in the news in the UK last Christmas. 2020 being a rubbish year for just about everyone. For one store in the UK it was even worse. They had some plates made for cookies to be put out for Santa on Christmas Eve. There was just one problem. The cookies read, "Cookies for Satan." Yes, this had managed to get through all the quality control checks and actually out onto the shelves before anybody thought to say, does that look a bit odd to you? But, you know, these things happen. But, as I say, my ideas from last year can be transformed into more mainstream ideas quite easily. The sort of sign is really easy to make. It could have said anything, but you know, if you've been around here for a while, I'm not apologising for my dark sense of humour. I'm afraid if you don't like it, I'm not going to change it. But we'll get on to some other things that you can use for decorations, like these snowmen here. Now these two have hung around my doll's house for quite a while, and there should actually be another couple of them, but I can only find two today. Now they're made of resin, and I don't know if you can see, but they have a hole in the top of their hats. That is because they used to have a little string so you could hang them on your Christmas tree. And they came for a very reasonable price in a pack of 4. All slightly different, but they were a perfect size for my doll's house, so I bought them, ripped out their strings and used them as doll's house Christmas decorations. Simple as that. When you're looking at Christmas stuff, particularly in lower end stores, always look at those things that you think, oh my goodness, because quite often they can be adapted for the doll's house. These can be used straight off. I've had Santas as well. I don't know where they've gone. They'll be in one of my boxes somewhere. But they look like those models that we get quite a few of at Christmas. So you could use them inside or out. But, you know, it's something that's cheap and cheerful, and you might even have them in your own Christmas decorations that you can raid to put into the doll's house. I'm going to move on with something in a similar vein, and I've got here Santa and a snowman. Now I must apologise because I've actually started working on these. I bought the snowman last year and never did anything with him, but I bought Santa in September when the Christmas things started going out and thought, I can do something with that. So I've cut some bits off. Santa had a bell. Now, Santa Claus standing ringing a bell is not a big thing in the UK, and it gave me an idea, and this is an idea that I will follow up with you in a future video because I'm going to spooky them up. And the same goes for the snowman. I actually used the little bird that he had sitting on his arm in a recent video for a smaller scale, and I've got a rabbit and a squirrel that I also cut off his base. They're going to be replaced with something more suitable for my aesthetic, but as they would have made nice little outdoor ornaments for your doll's house. These cost me £1 each. I did go back to get some more because I thought if I can at least get one that's unaltered, it would actually show it off to you, but the only one they got was carol singers, and I really couldn't come up with any way that I could use those. I'll be looking out for more, but they're cheap and cheerful, they're just plastic, and they're actually fairly easy to alter using a craft knife. And I'm going to use some paint, so these will feature in another video very soon. The final thing I'm going to look at today is this, which caught my eye when I went looking for Santa and Snowman. And these are little wooden decorative pieces. Now, this cost me under £2. It cost me £1.99. Now, it's from a company that I think is called Creo Time, because the website is Creo Time, and they're made of thin wood. Now, I'm going to take it out. This is the first time I've removed it from the packet. I'm going to actually have a proper look at it. Yeah, it is just thin sort of ply, and then you've got various pieces. We've got some trees, a house, a sleigh, reindeer, snowman, polar bear, penguin and Santa, if I didn't already mention, and some snowflakes that are, quite frankly, a pretty good size, I think, for the doll's house. Now, if I'm right, these are going to push out. Yeah, I'm going to need to get my craft knife in and just nick the little bits. So I'm going to do that off screen, and I'll come back and we'll put one of them together very roughly. Now, I've taken the pieces of the polar bear out of the backing sheet. No other reason than it was in the top corner, so I thought I'd start with that one. Now, the polar bear is 3 pieces. I would say I'd probably give it a little bit of a foil, bit of sandpaper or something on the pieces where it was attached, just to tidy it up. But it fits together quite nicely using a slot system, and you get a nice sort of relatively 3-dimensional piece. Obviously you would colour this, do whatever you wanted with it, but then you've got a piece that is, getting my little rule out, is about 1.25 inches in full length, including his all the way to his nose, which is what, just under 30 millimeters, something like that. I'm not being too exact. And then he's about 3/4 inch high, just under, so just under 20 mil. Nice sort of size, doll's house size. I think he works quite well as a decoration at 1/12 scale. If I put him very carefully onto Grandmama, because she's hanging around as always waiting for a makeover, you can see that it's a reasonable sized piece that could be displayed in your doll's house. Might be a bit small for me to use outside, but I might make a little scene that involves them. I'm not sure why I've got a polar bear and a penguin, because as everybody knows, polar bears come from the southern hemisphere, which is why you'll never catch a polar bear eating a penguin. It is not because they can't get the wrappers off. That's a Christmas cracker joke from the UK. But I'm going to actually have a go at some of these, at decorating them. Obviously they can be painted, you can do whatever you want with them, and I quite like them. For the price, I think I'm going to get some use out of them. Obviously things have got to be glued together, decorated, but yeah. I don't know where you'll be able to get them from, aside from I bought them from the range in the UK, but this is just to show you that even in the craft sections you can find things that you can use for Christmas decorations. I will probably be making them a little bit darker. Who am I kidding? I'm going to be making them a little bit darker. I'm not 100% sure how yet, but it's going to happen, isn't it? But you could just decorate them quite nicely, and they could sit on a miniature window ledge. That would actually be quite nice, I think. A little bit of a display. Even in a shop window you could use them. So I'm going to leave these here, I think, and get thinking for Creepmas. I hope you've enjoyed my little look at ways that you can decorate your doll's house for Christmas, quite simply. If you have, please like, comment and subscribe. And if you'd like to find out what's going to happen with Santa and the snowman, and even this little polar bear guy here, stick around for my Creepmas videos, which will be coming very, very soon. But until next time, bye!